One evening, I rushed home, excited to see my husband. But as I stepped inside, I saw him standing with a young, beautiful woman. My heart pounded. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice shaking. He smiled and said, "This is my new wife. From now on, we'll live together in this house." My chest tightened. "What are you saying?" I asked in shock. "I'm divorcing you," he said coldly. "I own this house now. Leave, Auntie." His words cut deep like a knife. My world turned upside down. I wasn't his wife anymore. I was nothing to him. Before I could understand what was happening, the woman beside him smirked. "You heard him. Get out." I felt dizzy. "Joey, please, think about our baby," I begged, holding my child close. But he turned away. The door slammed shut. The rain poured down, soaking me. I pounded on the door, crying his name. No answer. My baby whimpered in my arms. I had nowhere to go, no one to turn to. Desperate, I ran through the streets looking for shelter. How did my life come to this? Just yesterday, we were a family. Now I had lost everything. I was cold, wet, and scared. My baby was shivering. I had no home. My father had passed away, and my husband had abandoned me. There was only one person who might help, Joey's mother. She had always been strict, but she loved my baby. I took a deep breath and called her. "Please, I need help," I sobbed. There was silence. Then she spoke. "Where are you?" Her voice was sharp, but I heard concern. Minutes later, she arrived. She saw my wet clothes and trembling child and quickly pulled us into her car. "You'll stay with me." Joey's mother was a strong woman. She worked as a lawyer and always stood for justice. That night, she listened as I told her everything: Joey's sudden change, his cruel words, and the strange woman. Her hands clenched into fists. "This is unacceptable," she said. "Joey is my son, but I won't let him get away with this." She was serious. "We'll confront him," she said firmly. "And if needed, we'll go to court." I wiped my tears. For the first time since Joey threw me out, I felt hope. I wasn't alone. Someone was willing to fight for me. The next morning, we went to my former home. Joey looked shocked when he saw his mother with me. "Mom, why are you here?" he asked nervously. "I'm not here as your mother," she said. "I'm here as Sandy's lawyer." The woman beside him looked uneasy. "You took this house from her," she continued. "Show me the documents." Joey smirked. "Everything was done legally," he said. But when she demanded proof, he hesitated. "Sandy never signed anything," she said. "Forgery is a crime." Joey's confidence faded. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Joey stammered. "She signed it. She just forgot." His mother scoffed. "Then let's get a handwriting expert." The woman beside him panicked. "Joey, tell the truth," she hissed. He clenched his jaw. "Fine, I forged it," he admitted. Silence filled the room. His mother's face hardened. That's all I needed to hear. She pulled out a voice recorder. "This confession is enough for court." Joey's face turned white. The mistress looked terrified. "I didn't agree to this," she muttered, realizing she was involved in a crime. Joey had nowhere to run. The walls were closing in on him. Joey tried to beg. "Mom, please don't do this." But she didn't waver. "You made your choice," she said. "Now face the consequences." The court case moved quickly. Joey lost everything: his home, his job, his status. The mistress left him the moment things turned bad. As I watched him walk away in defeat, I felt nothing. I had loved him once, but now he was just a stranger. His betrayal had hurt me, but it had also set me free. I wasn't his victim anymore. I was stronger. I was ready to move forward without him. Winning the case was just the beginning. I had to rebuild my life. My father's company had struggled after his death, but I refused to let his hard work go to waste. "I will take over," I told my employees. At first, they hesitated. Could I lead? But with my mother-in-law's support, I proved myself. Days turned into months. and the company thrived again. My mother-in-law, once my greatest critic, became my strongest ally. I had lost a husband, but I had gained something more important: independence. Raising a child alone wasn't easy, but I embraced it. I no longer feared Joey's betrayal. Every night, I kissed my daughter's forehead and whispered, "We're going to be okay." My mother-in-law visited often, spoiling her granddaughter. One evening, she looked at me and said, "You're doing well. Joey never deserved you." Her words warmed me. The past still hurt, but I no longer let it control me. I focused on the future, a future where my daughter and I were happy, free from lies and deceit. We were survivors, and nothing could break us now. One evening, I stood in my father's office, looking out at the city. I had faced heartbreak, betrayal, and hardship, but I had survived. My employees respected me, my business was strong, and my daughter was safe. I had won. As I stared at the skyline, I whispered, "Dad, I did it." Life had knocked me down, but I had risen again, and this time, no one would take my happiness away. Even though Joey was gone from my life, memories of his betrayal still haunted me. At night, I would lie awake, wondering how he had changed so suddenly. Was our love ever real? Had he planned this from the start? But then, I would hear my daughter's soft breathing beside me, and I knew the answer didn't matter anymore. I had more important things to focus on: her future, my company, and my own happiness. I couldn't change the past, but I could shape what lay ahead. It was time to stop looking back and start moving forward. News about Joey reached me from time to time. After losing his job, he struggled to find work. No one wanted to hire a man who had been exposed for fraud. The mistress who once stood by his side had left him the moment he lost everything. He was now drowning in debt, working odd jobs just to survive. Some part of me wanted to feel sorry for him, but I couldn't. He had thrown away everything for greed and selfishness. Now, he was paying the price. Meanwhile, I was thriving. Life had given him what he deserved. The more I focused on my future, the stronger I became. At work, I was no longer just my father's daughter. I was a leader. Employees who once doubted me now trusted my decisions. I made sure the company grew, not just for myself, but for the people who worked there. At home, I raised my daughter with love and care. My mother-in-law, once strict and distant, became my biggest supporter. "You amaze me, Sandy," she said one day. "You have endured so much, but you never gave up." Her words meant the world to me. One afternoon, as I watched my daughter play in the park, I realized something. I was happy, truly happy. It wasn't the life I had imagined, but it was a life I had built with my own strength. Joey's betrayal no longer hurt me. It had shaped me, but it did not define me. I had taken back my power. I had proven to myself that I was capable of standing on my own. As my daughter laughed, running towards me with open arms, I smiled. "Mommy loves you," I whispered, holding her close. She was my greatest victory. Years passed, and life moved on. I continued to run my company with pride, raising my daughter with the love and security she deserved. My mother-in-law remained a constant in our lives, offering guidance and support. The pain of the past faded, replaced by new memories filled with warmth and joy. One day, as I walked through my office, I realized how much I had grown. I was no longer the woman who had been left in the rain, begging for answers. I was a woman who had rebuilt her life from the ground up. I had won. As I stood in my father's office, looking out at the city skyline, I felt at peace. Life had tested me, broken me, and forced me to fight, but I had survived. I was no longer a victim. I was a survivor, a mother, a businesswoman. I had learned that true strength isn't about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. My journey wasn't over, but I was ready for whatever came next. Holding my daughter's hand, I whispered, "We're going to be just fine." And deep in my heart, I knew